Good morning, everyone out there. I am, of course, the script doctor coming to you live this morning, either on your phones or in your homes, here to talk to you a little bit about the strike update and some interesting controversy that's surrounding Drew Barrymore for peculiar reasons. I'm hoping you're all doing well. I've had a heck of a fun weekend, hanging out with some clients, helping them shape their work. If you've been following them on Twitter, there's also been some interesting stories going on over there. I'm so happy for all 11 of you at the moment hanging out right now. So yeah, it's been an interesting weekend and an interesting turn of events. Certain publications have updated us a little bit more on the strike. I've also received some other information. Unfortunately, that will not be discussed until it is properly released through the proper channels. But for now, let's give any of those out there that are curious a little update when it comes to what's going on with the writers' strike. So let's just do it this way. Here we go. So a deadline reported a few days ago over the weekend that the WJ tells members that several companies have privately expressed a desire and willingness to negotiate a deal to end the writer's strike. This was a rumor that was being put around 10 days ago. I have confirmed that it is, for all intents and purposes, true. I know some of the names that are associated with this, which I won't reveal, but I can reveal two names that are not on the list, and that would, of course, be Bob Iger and Dana Walden. Others there, maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I'm not going to divulge that. I will let the official channels from the WGA speak to that when they are comfortable to do so. When it comes to this story here, I'll share the article with you guys, go through a little bit of it, share the AMPTP's response, and try and see if we can sort out some of the mud that has been thrown in the social sphere, not just from the AMPT side of things, but also from some of the union side of things. Because again, some of my compatriots in the union are not exactly behaving in a way that I think is professional. So, as the article goes, the Writers Guild told its members Friday that despite the united front the streamers and studios have shown in public during the Guild's 130-day strike, several of the legacy companies privately have expressed both the desire and willingness to negotiate an agreement that adequately addresses writers' issues. One studio executive even told the Guild that they needed a deal badly, the WGA said. One executive said they had reviewed our proposals, and though they did not commit to a specific deal, said our proposals would not affect their company's bottom line and that they recognize they must give more than usual to settle this negotiation. The Guild's negotiating committee said in its latest update. Another said they needed a deal badly. Those same executives and others have said they are willing to negotiate on proposals that the AMPTP has presented to the public as deal breakers. On every single issue we are asking for, we have had at least one legacy studio executive tell us they could accommodate us. Now, it's very important to note that they say legacy studio executive. That's not necessarily the head of the studio. I want some clarification to be forthright with you guys. These are usually people that are high tier executives in the company. They contribute to decision making to this to the decision making process. They also share their guidance, and they also are some of the people out there that buy spec scripts or send out assignments. That is part of their their responsibilities at some of these studios. So try not to take this one legacy studio executive to mean that it is the head of a studio. I again, as I said earlier, I can't reveal some of the names I've heard because that's it's not my responsibility. That is up to the WGA and also to the parties involved if they want to come forward and say that. For now, I am just going to merely try and clear up some certain confusion with regards to the situation so that you guys out there can be a little bit better informed over the process of what is happening with this very, it's a long strike, and it could go the distance and break the 1988 one. We're only, I would say, 3 weeks away from breaking that record. And that's not a record I'd like to break, of course. But who knows? It could be possible depending on how the unions and the studios take their next steps in the negotiations. The story goes on. And while this doesn't break the deadlock, further behind the scenes discussions could lead to a breakthrough if any of the companies decide to break away from the alliance of motion picture and television producers and negotiate a separate deal with the WGA. Here's the Guild's latest communique in full. We know that people are anxious for information about the status of the negotiation and how difficult it can be to stay strong during periods of silence, which is not only exacerbated by the company's recent attempts to make an end run around the negotiating committee and confuse the narrative. This pertains to a number of the leaks the AMPTP has been giving to the trades mere moments after negotiations conclude for the day. What follows is an update on where we are and how we got here. We share things we have not shared up until now, including conversations with individual executives that illustrate how some of the companies can already see a path toward making a deal, while other members of the AMPTP are not there yet. In the 130 days since the WGA strike began, the AMPTP has only offered one proposal to the WGA on August 11th. Since then, the companies have not moved off that proposal. Even though the WGA in turn presented our own counterproposal to the AMPTP on August 15th, the current standstill is not a sign of the company's power, but of the AMPTP's paralysis. The studios and streamers bargaining together through the AMPTP have disparate business models and interests, as well as different histories and relationships with unions. They are competitors in all respects, except when they band together to deal with Hollywood labor. Through the AMPTP, these legacy studios and streamers negotiate as a united front, which allows hardliners to dictate the course of action for all the companies. The AMPTP purports to represent all of these disparate corporate interests, but in practice administers a system that favors inflexibility over compromise and sacrifices the interests of individual companies in reaching a deal. That regression to the hardest line has produced the first simultaneous strikes since 1960. In contrast, during individual conversations with legacy studio executives in the weeks since SAG-AFTRA went on strike, we have heard both the desire and willingness to negotiate an agreement that adequately addresses writers' issues. One executive said they had received our proposal, and though it did not... Okay, so this is just some of the quotes that they have pulled up from the initial part of the article. Thank you, Deadline. Excuse me. So while the intransience of the AMPTP structure is impending progress, these behind-the-scenes conversations demonstrate there is a fair deal to be made that addresses our issues. Given the outside economic impact of the strikes on the legacy companies, their individual studio interest is making a deal isn't surprising. Warner Brothers confirmed this in a public financial filing just this past week. That's right. It's where David Zaslav and co. had to amend the amount of profit that they were making with regards to some of the money they lost. Most of that money was lost with the failure of The Flash. I think that money lost will be increased a little bit more in the next quarter when it comes to Blue Beetle and possibly Aquaman 2, although I think that they might move those reported earnings to the following quarter. I would suspect that'd be the case. But for Warner Brothers, it has not been the best of years when it comes to their DC properties overall. But they've been okay with some of their smaller films and, of course, with their surprise hit Barbie. So the quotes from the WGA goes on. We have made it clear that we will negotiate with one or more of the major studios outside the confines of the AMPTP to establish the new WGA deal. There is no requirement that the companies negotiate through the AMPTP. This is true. I believe Studio in the 07-08 strike struck a deal first. I think it was Paramount, but my memory is a little dodgy back then. I was in Canada at the time. I was not privy to all the details. I was as a young starting out writer then. goes on. So, if the economic destabilization of their own companies isn't enough to cause a studio or two or three to either assert their own self interest inside the AMPTP or to break away from the broken AMPTP model, perhaps Wall Street will finally make them do it. Until there is a breakthrough, the companies and AMPTP will try to sow doubt and internal guild dissension. Keep your radar up when the companies send messages through surrogates or the press about the unreasonableness of your guild leadership. Take those messages as part of a bad faith effort to influence negotiations and not as the objective truth. Or objective truth. The companies know the truth. They must negotiate if they want to end the strike. They may not like it. They may try to obscure it, but they know it. While they wrestle with that fact and with each other, they will continue attempting to get writers to settle for less than what we need and deserve, and encouraging us to negotiate with ourselves. But we are not going to do that. Instead, the companies inside the AMPTP who want a fair deal with writers must take control of the AMPTP process itself or decide to make a deal separately. At that point, a resolution to the strike will be in reach. We understand how painful this time is for you. We are all tired and hurting and scared. There's nothing wrong with saying so. The optimism for a return to negotiations has been met with a harsh reminder of how fraught this process will be. We share the frustration with how long the companies are prolonging the strike and remain committed to negotiating a fair resolution as fast as possible. In the meantime, as always, you can find your negotiating committee and board and council members out on the picket lines. When there is anything of significance to report, we will write again in solidarity the WGA Negotiating Committee. This is what was stated on the 8th, which would be about 4 days ago, Friday, if memory serves. And yes, the AMPTP was not very pleased with that letter that came out. In fact, shortly after that article on Deadline was posted, they sent out a statement to Deadline, which is here, saying the AMPTP calls WGA's claims of division in studio ranks false, says members companies are aligned. Now, this, for any of those who has ever worked in Hollywood for a long period of time, who has ever paid attention to the trades when it comes to scandals, companies, or relationships, the are aligned phrase is a red flag. They don't that actually usually means there's an impending struggle there. Are aligned or committed. Those are the two red flags. It's usually when there's some sort of response to any rumor saying that a couple is going to break up or a company is in dire straits. The PR team usually says that it's preposterous. First words, especially in the headlines, or they basically try to steer away from it without trying to reinforce the fact that no, we're good. They attack more the idea. This one here is on the defensive, saying that we're good. That usually means that you're not actually good in Hollywood terms, in the bubble of that social structure. Reaffirming that you're good instead of just saying that such a thing as silly is not in the best interest. This is what the AMPTP has said, according to Deadline. The AMPTP called the Writers Guild out Friday night after the Guild released a statement saying that several legacy companies have privately expressed both the desire and willingness to negotiate an agreement that adequately addresses the writers' issues. In response, the Association of Motion Pictures and Television Productions said tonight that the AMPTP members companies are aligned and are negotiating together to reach a resolution. Any suggestion to the contrary is false. See, they put this in at the end. If this were truly something of a denial, they'd be attacking it first. They would let the aligned stuff, the negotiating part stuff, be the last part, because again, it is in the interest of Hollywood. The way that Hollywood usually works, the way that PR for companies usually work, and I can't believe they haven't learned this lesson yet, is that you go after the false idea first to dispel it right away. You don't reinforce prior. Because what you reinforce prior is the least important aspect when it comes to the story scandal. So if someone were to say to me like, "Script doctor, I hear that you and your girlfriend are breaking up," I'd be like, "That's preposterous. Who would tell you that we're breaking up? Why would we be breaking up? What got your mind to think that would be the case? That is the dumbest thing ever." And then I probably wouldn't even address the fact that we're fine or anything of that nature. I just keep on attacking that because, again, I don't need to tell you guys that we're fine if that's an interest to you. It's like, if it is what it is. Like that's just how the at least the interactions that I've experienced over 17 years has been the case. So this article goes on to say the AMPTP went on to say that every member company of the AMPTP wants a fair deal for writers and actors and an end to the strikes, which are affecting not only our writer and actor colleagues, but also thousands of others across the industry. And also outside the industry. A lot of businesses in California depend on the studio system. That is why the AMPTP has reportedly put forward offers that address major priorities of the WGA, including the last round of offers on August 17th and 18th. On many issues, AI among them, we are close. Our AI proposal has provided clear guarantees that the use of AI will not affect writers' pay, credit, or separated rights. We have asked the WGA to identify any remaining holes in the AI offer, and it has not responded. That is very interesting. I don't know if they can back that up, and I'll share with you why in just a moment. On the important topic of mandatory staffing, the WGA has remained entrenched in its original position, except for a single modest change in its position on staffing in development rooms. The WGA has achieved substantial gains for its members during this negotiation process and holds the power to move this negotiation forward by responding to the AMPTP's most recent offers on key issues. The AMPTP, including all its member companies, remains eager to reach a resolution. The AMPTP also provided a timeline of proposals that so far have failed to end the writer's strike, which began on May 2nd. And this is the timeline of proposals. So we're going to see if this is true. So April 14th, 2023, the AMPTP presented WGA with its comprehensive package proposal, a 31-page document. On the 26th, they presented the WGA with its revised comprehensive package, a 40-page document. Then on the 30th, the AMPTP presented the WGA with its second revised comprehensive package, a 41-page document, followed on August 11th, which would be after the strike has started, because strike was started May 2nd. So these were the negotiation periods. So between May 2nd, it took the AMPTP till August 11th to present the WGA with its third revised comprehensive package proposal, a 69-page document that addressed all items in negotiation. Then on August 15th, the WGA responded with a four-page document with limited moves in a handful of areas. Then on the 16th, the WGA provided details of a revised written proposal on AI. Then the 17th, the AMPTP provided the WGA with revised AI. And again on the 18th. And the AMPTP has offered the further compromises to the WGA's August 15th response. The WGA indicated it would respond the following week, and the AMPT has not heard from the guild since that time. So on August 18th, the AMPTP is saying that they have not heard from the guild at that time. But that's not true, because on August 22nd, studios revealed new AI, data transparency, and residual proposals to the WGA. Guild meets with the CEOs. And on the day of the National Strike of Solidarity, Writers Guild, the Actors Unions, and the AMPTP tonight suddenly released the details of what it calls a comprehensive package to the scribes. That is that night. That means that on the 22nd, the WGA responded to the AMPTP's offer. So this here is false. The AMPTP has not heard from the guild since August 18th, but Deadline reports, again, August 22nd, 4 days after, that they responded. We also have another response on August 24th, where the W says AMPT's latest contract offer is neither nothing nor nearly enough. So, AMPTP, nobody talked to you on August 18th, huh? So who do we have to believe here? Do we believe the AMPTP that they haven't heard anything since August 18th, and it's in the WGA's court to provide an update? Or do we believe the public statement from the WGA that their latest contract offer is neither nothing nor nearly enough, and how they have responded on that? It's quite interesting. There hasn't been any movement since this article which has been in the been in the court of the amputee since. So that's rather weird. And I am really hoping that we get some clarification from this because it seems kind of odd. Would you not say? So let's see what you guys are saying out there in the chat. I see there's 52 of you there. Thank you so much for joining. I want to say hi to Fractal Brain, Nemon's the Retuber, Setlick3 Gaming, Revan R, Kowalski, good old Niels here. Happy to see you here. We have Cezorjan for 10. Thank you so much. We'll get to this in just a moment, but let's read out your super chat for now. For 10, given what Drew Barrymore did with Dylan Mulvaney, I have no sympathy for her. Then again, SAG is trying to get voice actors to strike. SAG doesn't understand how much gamers want to see it all burn. Well, it is what it is. It is what it is. Gamers can see it all burn if they want. It will have a ripple effect into their own industry or their own entertainment aspects, but we'll see what happens. But we'll be doing the Drew Barrymore stuff in just a moment to get some clarification there for you all. I see we also have John Sapola and Adega Outlaw and Rod Thunderheart. So it seems like a bunch of Shinatsky says a huge mistake was the WGA listing everything they were offered, then turned it down. The WGA didn't list that. The AMPTP listed that, and the WGA responded to it. The AMPTP was not supposed to list that. That's one of the problems. Shinatsky also goes on to say, there's a Venture Brothers clip where Dr. Venture talks about compromises and that both sides are children. Fairness is a bunch of hogwash, get something or cry about getting nothing. Well, I mean, that also goes into the fact that one of the hidden aspects of the Venture Brothers is it's a bunch of adults still playing fantasy make-believe, but now they have money and resources to make it go forth. Last call with Troy Patelli asked, Script Doctor, have you commented on the situation with their legal counsel? Apparently some talk about getting new representation. Okay, well, this is an interesting part. So yes, currently right now, there is an in-house counsel who's been there for a number of years. I'm just trying to remember her name. Bear with me for a moment. Sorry, I just gotta see if I can pull it up. Let's see here. Okay. Where are you? Okay. Okay, so Catherine Kristovich is one of their in-house counsels. She's been there for a long time. Her name is Catherine. Her last name is different. It's a little bit trickier to pronounce for me. She's been there for a while. She deals with the basic stuff of legal. One of the things with regards to legal counsel, at least in the WGA side of terms, and I might be a little off on this because again, it's been a while, but her legal counsel or her general counsel that she kind of has or operates for on the side, she's not like general counsel. She's in a slightly different department. But there has been a new president of the WGA. Who came in 2022. Let's see here. It's been some time, so you have to bear with me. Again, I haven't been present in all the Intimate Guild stuff in quite some time. So let's share this tab here. So let's go here. So this is Meredith Steinem. She's been president since 2021. When she came in, she decided to start shepherding in some new people into the guild to sort of reorganize it, get some new counsel, get some new jobs in place. A lot of people have been in there for decades. They're kind of on the cusp of aging out. They, you need some fresh blood in here. That's what she's been doing. She's been doing that for the past couple of years, getting it sorted out. It's a difficult thing to do. It's not exactly easy. It's also very difficult to find trustworthy counsel in the Hollywood system that hasn't got any sort of compromising aspects of their career with the studios. So that's one of those issues here. I do know that one of the main negotiations has been around. Gosh, he's ill right now. Can't remember one of the negotiating committee. His name is, why am I forgetting it? I'm sorry. I had a late date night last night. Didn't get home till 3 a.m. So I'm a little sluggish. I apologize for that. Names and brains are going a little crazy here, but yes. So Meredith is setting up a new WGA to go forward. Chris Kreiser is on the is one of the part of the negotiating committee. He is a former president. He's also a law graduate of Harvard Law. So he's part of on there. That's the other thing to also take into account. A lot of screenwriters that are part of the WGA used to be lawyers or are still lawyers practicing. They do provide advice. I believe there's contracts negotiated for that to provide advice for the WGA. The current person who is head of the negotiating committee, whose name has escaped me at the moment, he has been sick, but his number two in the command, who has been training with him for 5 years, has taken point, and she is. Let me just see here. Do I have her name? Because I'm. Let's see here. It's not. Let me see here. That's Ellen Stutzman, I think. Yes, Ellen Stutzman. She's been the assistant executive director for a little over 5 years. So she has been the number two of the proper executive director. She is a Cornell University graduate of industrial and labor relations. She is a graduate of UCLA's Anderson School of Management. And she has been working with the WGA in a variety of capacities since, I think, 2006. Yeah, since 2006. So she's got intimate knowledge with regards to the WGA. She is on the negotiating committee. One thing that I have noticed very differently with this round of negotiations than the previous ones is the amount of attention to detail in the proposals, and certain I've seen some certain tactics on the negotiating side that are more than meets the eye, which is kind of interesting because one of the things that, as I read in the Deadline article, with regards to the AMPTP's response, is that they have admitted that the WGA has made progress in the negotiating part. That's a good thing for at least the WGA, and it's a little bit of an embarrassment for the AMPTP, because if they were in the level of control with which they advertise, would you not think that it'd be the WGA capitulating more than the AMPTP? And yet the AMPTP has admitted that they have actually made concessions. So that is something to consider. With the way the strike is going, I don't think it's actually a win-win scenario for the unions or the AMPTP studios at this point. The studios are going to suffer as instantly once the strikes end, because they have gaps of content to make up for, which they'll not be able to do, which means they'll have to spend an exorbitant amount of money licensing other content to fill that gap. Theater schedules are going to be reshuffled around. It's going to be very difficult for them. We have Revan R, who says, stupid question. Well, let's see. What will happen if the strikes continue past Christmas and the new year? Stockholders, Wall Street's going to be really, really, really upset, because I am constantly hearing rumors from some of my people in the financial sector that are freaking out, demanding the studios broker a deal because they're losing money. Stocks are declining. Not as fast, of course, as the Disney stock is recently, but that has more to do with some of their legal issues and some really big blunders when it came to their streaming services, their little short-lived battle with Spectrum, where they capitulated to Spectrum as a service provider. So that has not been great for Disney on that side of things. Right now, there is this very, very peculiar perspective happening when it comes to David Zaslav and Warner Brothers. Zaslav is one of the only studio heads that has publicly come out wanting to get a deal resolved before the end of this month. And yet I see a number of mostly young people hating on Zaslav for reasons I can't properly localize. I don't know why. I look at him as a businessman and writer. I've had experience working on projects associated with Discovery. I dated a beautiful woman for a short while who was working on a couple of the Discovery shows. Got to never meet David Zaslav, but got to hear how he works and how he is very much if it's failing, we're cutting it and we're starting over type of guy. I think that's actually a good thing in the industry to have, because again, your responsibility is that as studios to make stuff that people want to watch and want to see. And if it starts to flutter, you get a chance to try and course correct. And if you can't do it quickly enough, you can't do it effectively enough, then what business do you have here? You're out. Let's give someone else a try, or just start over differently. So no, Revan, that wasn't a dumb question. That was a good question. If they do go off into the new year, it's going to hurt a lot of people. It's going to hurt the studios as well. They have not changed their spending habits since the strike began. And money is going out more so than it is coming back. So it's going to be difficult for them. It's going to be very hard on a lot of the talent. It's been a little difficult for me, but I have other outlets of income that has been buying me time, as it were. So I am okay for now. Ideally, I would like everyone to get back to work. I also don't think it is obscene or offensive for anyone who values what they do to want the best deal they can have for them. When it comes to some of the other writers that are in here through nepotism or any other attributes that don't actually require writing and they want more for what they're putting out, they will have to learn the hard way that you actually have to have some skill, dedication, and talent to do this job, and not just because a parent or immutable attributes got you here. That's not enough. That is a big issue within the union, not just on the actor side, but also on the WGA side. Brokering a deal of this type helps screen that out, especially if showrunners can get a bit more power when it comes to hiring the writers they want to hire, as opposed to having to do what has been done primarily from the studios, which is saying, hey, we need to invest in DEI. We need to, I want my kid to be on this television show, show them the ropes, give them everything they can, and they'll be a writer's assistant, then maybe story editor, and then I'll give them and then maybe they'll get a show on another, at another network or on another studio. That happens too much. There's been too much control in regards to that tactic, and it's been happening long before recently. It's been happening for decades. But some of the requests with regards to mini rooms would change that. Now, I definitely do not agree with the minimum hiring and the maximum hiring staff for a mini room or a general showroom. However, there seems to be some sort of alternative motive with regards to that proposal that I have some strong suspicions of. And when the deal is resolved and we see what that deal is, I will share with you my take on that and see if it lines up with what has occurred. We can only hope. Read by Nature says, speaking of season 2's not getting remade, rumor is Velma could still get canned. Fingers crossed they go full Batgirl and write off anything already produced for the second season. Second season was already in the can. And it was voice recorded. It was written stuff. That was already done. It could be coming out. Cartoons are usually written, then recorded a year before they are animated at minimum. So there is nothing for talent to do at this point. It is all up to the animators. And most likely this case, they probably finished the animation and editing has already been done and it's in the bank ready to go. We will see. Again, not everything can be written off. Now, with Velma being an HBO Max, which is now Max exclusive, it's probably doesn't have any secondary distribution deals in place yet, but that could have changed over the course of this recent year because David Zaslav has been licensing out backlog of content that is not performing well on HBO Max to other streaming services like Tubi, like Netflix, and anything else that is overseas. So we'll go there. Oh, last call with Troy Pacelli says, sends in a $4 super sticker of a of a pair handing me a cup of coffee. Thank you so much, Troy. Greatly appreciated. You know what? It's kind of strange. I'm one of the few writers I know that just doesn't have a taste for coffee and doesn't drink it ever. I just willed my way to wake up. And with you guys out there, you're helping me quite a bit. So I greatly appreciate that. All 52 of you. Thank you so much. Let's see. What else do we have here? Fractal Brain says they were talking about getting out of the guild by some showrunner also. No? I'm not sure about that. If you can elaborate a little bit on that, Fractal Brain, I'll do my best to respond. But that's something new that hasn't perused my way. Then we got good old Neil. Hello, Neil. Hope you're doing well. Says the thing is that I don't want to go in disliking series. When I watched the One Piece live action, I was impressed with the series. As a fan of the series, I saw care and effort with that show. I just wish there was that level of attention to detail with these movies and shows, and don't treat us fans like garbage when we have valid criticisms to raise. Yeah, well, that's the curse of the industry is that it's mostly top down. When it comes to this stuff, as I mentioned on other streams, if I am a studio executive and let's say I have some sort of take on a One Piece or any type of existing property, and I think it's valuable in name brand and its fan base, but I'm part of the social bubble that thinks Hollywood needs to be progressive and set the way and direction for how the species will interact with each other and how we'll respect and love each other in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And if I don't see those things identified in the property that I'm going to have to change it. But I'm a producer. I don't know how to do that. So I'm going to set out an assignment. I'm going to look for any writer that can actually come up with the same type of pitch that I have. And that's the one I'll get. So if I get a writer out there who's like, nope, One Piece is awesome. I think we should be loyal and authentic to it. I think there's a great way we can adapt it for live action to make it fun and enticing to get people to really love this show and maybe even explore the anime as a welcome byproduct. And since that doesn't align with my perspective, I'm not hiring that guy. And he's probably one of the best writers in the industry coming at me for it. But then I get this kid who's probably got random rainbow colored streaks in their hair and doesn't know how to dress themselves properly. And they say all the things that I want to hear. And they had no idea that I wanted to hear that. Well, guess what? They're the one I'm hiring. Why? Because we're in alignment with the perspective of how we're going to do the show. And then on top of that, whatever they send to me, if I find an idea that I want to push it that's better for it or what have you, I know I'm not going to get any pushback from them because, again, we're already perspectively aligned. And that's the person that I'm going to hire. And that's what's going to go out there. And that's how it works. And so when you see a whole plethora of shows with great premises, and they're poor and poorly received, that's one part writer with regards to that writer had the take for it, and that take aligned with what the studio wanted. Now, if the studio says, no, I want to do an authentic adaptation of a One Piece thing, I'm looking for someone to do that authentic adaptation, and I get a great writer that pitches me that, they're the ones I'm going to hire. And what's going to happen as a result? You're going to get the most authentic adaptation that is possible within the budget constraints of that series. Now, fun fact for those of you that haven't yet, but I do have a Patreon. Link is in the comments there. I have the script for One Piece that was written in 2020, and I'm going to be doing a comparison between that script and the pilot of One Piece. It's taken me a little bit longer to do. I've just been trying to free up some time to sit down and actually watch One Piece. I am not familiar with the original anime, other than the fact that it has gone on for 20 odd years, along with the manga. Has the anime gone on 20 years or something? I might be wrong there, but I know the manga has been around for over 20 years. So I'm going to be a script comparison. We're going to see if the script was written in the same type of manner that Cowboy Bebop was, and if changes were made, we're going to see if we can identify where those changes were made, how they were made, and how they benefited the show. And that will be on my Patreon for those who are already subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, please feel free to head on over there. It comes with a 7-day free trial. And if it's something you like and you want to continue your support, it's more than welcome. And if it's not, no harm, no foul. I'm trying to do this to benefit you guys out there that want to see more of the screenwriting side of entertainment coverage and understanding. And also, if you are a writer out there, I do post writing tips and how-to guides and analysis and musings to help better you guys out there as a writer. John Doe says, I know SAG actors can't strike in the UK because equity would be fined if they don't show up for work because of an illegal strike. What is the deal with writers and the UK productions? It depends if they're a hyphenate with whatever deal they have as a UK writer. So again, primarily speaking, I don't know of any of the channels or smaller studios that are British based are part of the struck companies. Again, the strike only affects struck companies. Those struck companies are currently associated with the AMPTP. And now when it comes to Drew Barrymore, let's get into a little bit of that. I'll share this tab here. So this is the official release of SAG-AFTRA on strike and what you can work on. So Drew Barrymore is a member of SAG-AFTRA. She is an actress and a producer. She has done, of course, the Charlie's Angels series. Everybody knows her from E.T., her brief moment in Scream. There was a period of time where she had the rights to Barbarella and tried to get that off the ground, but was unsuccessful. But right now she has a daytime talk show. And as a hyphenate with regards to SAG, she is authorized to be on that talk show and host it. With regards to what is going on with the SAG-AFTRA strike, she is unable to bring on any talent that is currently promoting a film or television series that is connected to a struck company. So if you're an actor and you're on a 100% independent film that has, say, a SAG-AFTRA interim agreement, you can go on the Drew show and promote that project. In fact, right now in Canada, the Toronto International Film Festival is occurring. Any of the films that are independent, that are not associated with the studio system, their talent is here promoting it. I believe Anna Kendrick, who's a director, has decided to stand in solidarity with the unions and is not here to promote her film, which is about a serial killer on the dating show, on the mystery date show or something of that nature. I haven't checked it out yet. TIFF, I did go by there last night while I was out. It was not as packed as it usually is, which is unfortunate, but TIFF has been in steady decline, in my opinion, for many, many years. So let's go over this little post that is from the SAGAFTRA.org website. So, network television code, what you can work on. Let's look at the Network Television Code and how it differs from the TV theatrical streaming agreements, officially called the National Code of Fair Practice for Network Television Broadcasting, but better known as the Network Television Code. It is its own contract and remains unstruck. That means members can work on Network Television Code productions. I believe they ratified this deal last year. So that won't be renegotiated until, I think, 2025, if I'm not mistaken. But again, I'm a writer. I am not an actor, so I don't know all the intimate details with regards to the SAG-AFTRA union. But there are a few things I have dealt with in the past. So Daytime serials, soap operas, and non-dramatic programs are workable. So a variety show, a talk show, game show, reality, competitive shows, special events, and award shows, documentaries other than those produced for theatrical exhibition. So TV documentaries. Performers engaged to work under the network television code should continue to honor their contracts. Meanwhile, TV theatrical streaming agreements cover work performed for the companies represented by the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, AMPTP, and some independent producers. For the most part, this work is scripted programming, or what that agreement calls dramatic. Working on those productions is off limits until we get a fair deal. For a comprehensive list of all affected work and further deadlines, visit SAG-AFTRA So, Drew Barrymore hosts a daytime talk show. She is authorized by SAG-AFTRA and technically from the WGA to continue that show without any harm. The same thing happened in 2007 with Conan O'Brien and I believe Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert and Jay Leno and all those guys. They continued to make their show while the writer's strike was going on. Now, here is some of the stipulations, and here's what I believe some of the issues with regards to Drew Barrymore that some young and fairly uninformed writers and actors are doing because they're calling her a scab. I personally disagree with this until further evidence proves me otherwise. And the reason I disagree with this is the fact that this TV network agreement. It allows Drew Barrymore to do this. She's allowed to host her show, and she's doing this, number one, because it's not part of the struck deal, and number two, the crew that works for her should be going back to work, and I think that's fine. I don't see anything wrong with it. The only way she violates this is if she starts promoting film and television shows of struck companies. And I believe that she made a statement saying that she is not going to do that. And if that's the case, then she is still standing in solidarity with the unions. Now, this does not absolve any of the people that are striking the show, because again, Drew Barrymore's show does have writers that help write opening monologues, maybe help formulate questions and whatnot for the show. Let's share this Deadline article here. And that is one of the things that's a point of contention here. So the question is, will Drew Barrymore be writing herself? Will she be writing her own monologues that will be put on a teleprompter that she will then read off of to introduce her show? And will she be writing questions on cue cards or, 3.25 inch note cards for any of the guests that she has on? That is yet to be determined. I haven't seen the Drew Barrymore show. I've never watched it. I think I've only maybe seen at most clips here and there. I think with her talking to like Jeff Goldblum and Norm Macdonald and other more celebrities than I'm more interested in than, unfortunately, Drew Barrymore. Nothing personal against Drew. But yeah, I'm just not interested. I'm not a big daytime talk show person. So let's do this hypothetical. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, that Drew Barrymore does spend the night before. She writes out an opening monologue. She gives it to her production team. They punch it into the teleprompter, and she reads off the teleprompter the opening monologue. That would be in violation of the WGA terms, and she would be, quote unquote, scabbing because she has made written work that is for the use of her show. She is not part of the WGA, so she is in violation of the WGA contract that is held with that network when it comes to this television show. So that would be bad for her. Now, Drew is prepared to make that sacrifice so that she can continue the show and continue the work that she does with her staff, which I think is very brash of her, and I don't begrudge her for trying to do that. However, if their teleprompter is not running, if there is no words for her to read, if there's no cue cards on set, if there's nothing in her hands, and she is just vamping, she is not a scab. She is not violating anything. She is doing what the host Conan O'Brien was doing. I think even remember Conan O'Brien was sitting at his desk spinning his wedding ring, and I believe they even put a camera on his own camera to show the teleprompter was off, that he was nothing he was doing was pre-written or written prior to the airing of that show. And if Drew does the same thing where there's nothing written, she is not in violation and therefore should not be called a SCAB. And that is in Drew's ball court right there. I put the ball to her. If she wants to do the show, if she wants to vamp, if she wants to talk about anything that is not promoting a struck company project, she is free to do so. If she, I believe there was also some sort of issue going on with William Shatner. He made a tweet about this type of stuff. I didn't name any names, but he wanted to stand in solidarity with people and those that were standing in solidarity with the SAG-AFTRA and unions, and things were fine there from my perspective. But a lot of people in the union, at least on that Twitter thread, were not too pleased with that response. But let's say hypothetically, William Shatner just wants to go on the show and talk about his life and talk about old Star Trek. He can, because that is not in violation of SAG-AFTRA rules. Old Star Trek is not currently in production. There's nothing new being promoted or presented for it. You can talk about that. Here's another thing. Right now, there's a podcast. I'm not necessarily recommending it, but it is out there, and it is not violating any of the rules. It's called Talkville. It's hosted by Michael Rosebaum and Tom Welling. They talk about Smallville. They're not violating any SAG-AFTRA or WGA terms because Smallville is no longer in production. There are no new episodes being made. You can stream it on a multiple variety of applications. It is still broadcast on some channels throughout the world. It's done. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If Drew wants to have her show where she's talking to her audience members, asking them questions randomly, that's not in violation of any of the guilds. If she is talking with other TV hosts that are also part of the network contract, and they're just shooting the breeze, that is not in violation of anything. That's just the nature of the business. It all depends on how she handles herself. The only organization of this show that's going to be occurring that is not writing dependent is the director of the episode, which will signal her when to throw to commercial, when they're back, and how much time they have until they have to wrap that taping and then take a break and then do their next taping for that day. So this is just the nature of the game. I think a lot of the points of contention are probably coming through speculation, and until we see exactly what is going on, I think we should hold our tongues for a moment until we know all the details here. Again, I'm not a fan of the Drew Barrymore show, but I don't think at this point she is a SCAB until evidence comes forward that proves otherwise. And I think that's the only responsible thing to do when it comes to her. I think it's great that she's wanting to help out the members of her crew. Other showrunners and producers have already started funds to help subsidize their staff that is not working for this time. Some have gone up to a $500,000 kind of pool. Others have gone up to a few million. There are still other aspects of financial aid provided through the WGA, and SAG for those things, for compensation and for support. Yolanda Gaines says the WGA is getting on my nerves. Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, but again, it's think of it the situation this way. You go into work and your boss says, "Hey, I'm going to cut your work hours in half, including your pay, because I've got this new robot that can do your job just as well," at least in my opinion. I think everybody is rightfully able to be upset about that. And that's one of the lines in the sand that the WGA is striking against. That, in addition to transparency when it comes to streaming numbers, which they might not get this negotiation rounds, but they might get the next one, because as the studios are switching to an advertiser model on their streaming service, If they're going to open up bids for commercial ads in their shows on those streaming services, they have to justify the selling the point of sale, the selling cost for those ads. And the only way an advertiser is going to agree to it is if they see proper numbers of who is watching what and when and why. So if I am say Walmart and I want to do a Walmart commercial on a television show on Disney Plus, and they say, yeah, it's going to cost you $1 million for a commercial, be aired on She-Hulk season 2. I'm going to say how many people are watching She-Hulk season 2, and if they say, well, we got over 154 subscribers, I'm going to say how many people are watching She-Hulk season 2. And if they don't tell me the numbers, I'm going to be like, I'm not going to spend $1 million if I don't know how many people are going to be seeing my commercial. I want to know exactly how many people are going to be seeing my commercial if I'm going to be spending $1 million. And if Disney wants that $1 million, it's going to come with the price of what those numbers are. And once the advertisers start getting those numbers will then be shared with the unions. Those unions will then negotiate and say, hey, since you're using a network ad revenue model on streaming, why don't we use a network ad revenue model for royalties? The fact that they're not quite doing that this round gave me pause, but hopefully something can be worked out as they get closer to a deal, if they are in fact getting closer to a deal. I'm really hoping that in the next week or so, we get an update from either the WGA or the AMPTP when it comes to what's going on. The reason I think in the next weeks or so is because TIFF will be over by then. It will stop sucking up all the air and media coverage. And ideally that will help get some progress. John Doe asks, can Drew Barrymore have Steven Spielberg on to talk about E.T.? Yes, he can. Yes, she can, technically. Also, Steven Spielberg is not an actor. He is part of the DGA. They have signed a contract with the AMPTP. They are perfectly fine to do promotions for anything that they are working on at this point. So even if Steven Spielberg has a new movie coming out, he can go on Drew's show and talk about that movie. Kadam Forrest says, so they could have late night conversations like FNT, but none of it can be written ahead of time. That is correct. That is correct. Rod Thunder says, I'm back from Culture Casino. Oh, good. I hope Culture is doing well. You know what? I forgot he had his 6-minute daily today. I got to go check that out. In fact, it is coming up to time for me to call it quits. I have to get back to finishing off a draft of a script that hopefully when the strike is over, I can sell. In the meantime, before I go, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you are, again, of the audience that is really upset with the studios and the terrible writers that they hire, and I don't blame you, because again, when they hire a terrible writer, they're not hiring me, and that bothers me because I like working. Go and support some of the people on the independent side of things. The independent side of things are not struck. In fact, there is a movie by good friend of the channel, good friend of myself, Mr. Tom Conkle. It is called Island in the Stars. They're currently at 84 backers with 32 days left. They are 15% of goal in the U.S. currency. That means they've already secured $10,344 of their campaign, trying to reach $66,000 in total to cover all the legal costs for getting the production set up so that they can go to Australia, take advantage of the tax credits, get the money in to make this fantastically fun science fiction adventure film. It's got a bunch of great talent in the woodwork for it, some of which I cannot reveal, other than the fact that Vernon Wells is the producer to it. That's Vernon Wells from The Road Warrior, from Weird Science, from Commando, and for those of Power Rangers fans, he was from Power Rangers Time Force, if I can. I'm just putting that in the chat here. Please go support this film. This is being made by the filmmakers that actually care about storytelling. They care about satisfying you guys. It's it's an answer to some of the problems we have in the entertainment industry. So if you guys can show your support, you don't necessarily have to donate, but if you can share it on social media, and if it does pique your interest to donate, it is greatly appreciated. I get nothing from doing this. I'm doing this to help out a fellow colleague and friend whom I admire. For any of you guys that are out there, if you have an independent film or something or project that you want to promote, you can reach out to me on Twitter or X at the Script Doctor PhD. My DMs are open. Any project that you have, is it a pilot? Is it a novel? Is it a comic book? What have you? If you want to get my advice, if you want to do it, promote it on a show like this, we can work something out for time schedule, obviously, not anything else, but mostly time, to get it out to your audience so that they can see what you're doing. Because again, an injection of the independent world helps the actual mainstream industry thrive. And unfortunately, for the last decade or so, there hasn't been much with regards to the injection of the independents in the industry. So there is definitely a gap that needs to be occupied, supporting people like Tom Conkle and what is it, the Iron Age comics and all that stuff, the comic book guys, and any of the short films and stuff that's out there gets that done. In fact, someone is actually texting me right now about this. So in the meantime, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. I want to thank Sejorjan and Last Call with Troy Pacelli, who also did a stream with Tom Conkle. Check that out as well. It was definitely a fun watch. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope I was able to answer your questions when it came to these updates with regards to the strike. If you have any more, feel free to @ me on Twitter or send me a DM. And in the meantime, guys, have a wonderful week. I will see you all on other streams elsewhere. And never forget, when it comes to great writing, it all starts with the script.